I'm 85 years old. I've been sitting here reading comments on these videos my granddaughter shows me, and I keep seeing the same thing from women. My husband doesn't talk to me. My husband doesn't share his feelings. My husband comes home and stares at his phone, and it's like I don't exist. My husband is emotionally unavailable, and I need to say something that might make some of you angry. But I'm 85. I buried one husband and almost lost him long before he died. So I've earned the right to say this. Your husband is not ignoring you. He is drowning right in front of you, and you're calling it distance when it's actually desperation. And the reason he won't tell you he's drowning is because every man in America was taught the same lesson before he could tie his shoes. Handle it yourself. Don't complain. Don't be weak. Provide, protect, perform, and never, ever let them see you struggle. My husband Thomas was the strongest man I've ever known. 6'2", worked construction for 38 years, built buildings with his hands in the heat and the cold and the rain. Never missed a day, never complained, came home every night, put food on the table, did what men do. And he was falling apart inside for 15 years, and I didn't know. Because he smiled at dinner. Because he said, I'm fine, when I asked. Because the mask he wore was so perfect and so practiced that even the woman who slept next to him for 40 years couldn't see behind it. Here's what was happening behind the mask. Thomas was terrified about money from the day our first son was born until the day he retired. 32 years of financial terror. Not because we were poor, because the responsibility of being the provider ate him alive. Every bill that came in the mail was a test he could fail. Every unexpected expense was proof that he wasn't doing enough. He carried the weight of our family's survival on his back every single day, and he never said a word. Because who was he going to tell? Me? And admit he was scared? His friends? Men don't talk to their friends about fear. His father? His father's advice for everything was, toughen up. He had no one. The strongest man I knew had no one to be weak with. Think about that. Not one person on this earth where he could put the weight down and say, I'm tired, and I'm scared, and I don't know if I can keep doing this. I found out at year 32. Not because he told me, because his body told me. He had a heart attack at 58. In the hospital, hooked up to machines, the doctor asked him about stress, and Thomas broke. Right there in that hospital bed, with the gown and the tubes and the beeping. He broke. Everything came out. The fear about money, the pressure at work, a foreman who humiliated him daily, the feeling that no matter how hard he worked, it was never enough. The exhaustion so deep it lived in his bones. The loneliness of carrying it alone for 3 decades. I sat in that hospital chair and I listened to my husband describe a life of quiet suffering that happened 3 feet away from me in our own bed, and I never knew. I never knew because I stopped asking, or I asked the wrong way. I'd say, "How was your day?" And he'd say, "Fine." And I accepted fine because fine was easy. Fine didn't require anything from me. Fine let me move on to the next thing. But fine was a locked door. And behind that door, my husband was sitting alone in the dark. Here's what I need women to understand. I'm not blaming you. I'm asking you to see something you might be missing. When your husband comes home and he's quiet, he's not being rude. He's decompressing from 8 or 10 or 12 hours of pressure and performance and expectations. The world asks men to be machines all day. Productive machines. Emotionless machines. Machines that solve problems and don't create them. And when he walks through your door, the machine needs to power down before the human can come back online. That quiet isn't rejection, it's recovery. When he stares at his phone, he's not choosing the phone over you. He's numbing. The same way you might pour a glass of wine or call your friend or take a bath. He doesn't have those outlets. Men weren't given those outlets. He wasn't taught to call a friend and say, "I'm having a hard time." He wasn't taught to take a bath and process his emotions. He was taught to shut up and push through. The phone is his only escape hatch. And yes, it's a bad one, but it's the only one he's got. When he doesn't share his feelings, it's not because he doesn't have them. It's because every time he's ever shown vulnerability in his life, something bad happened. His father said, "Toughen up." His friend said, "Don't be soft." His coach said, "Push through it." The world taught him that feelings are weakness, and weakness is unacceptable. And now you're asking him to do the one thing every authority figure in his life punished him for. And you're frustrated that he can't do it overnight. He wants to tell you. I promise you, he wants to tell you. Thomas told me later, years later, that he used to lie in bed at night wanting to roll over and say, "I'm scared and I'm tired and I need help." But the words wouldn't come. They were stuck behind 30 years of training that said men don't say those words. Men handle it. Men provide. Men endure. Here's what I did after the heart attack. After I understood what I'd been missing, I stopped asking, "How was your day?" That question is a trap. The only acceptable answer is, "Fine." Instead, I started saying specific things. I'd say, "You look tired tonight." Not regular tired, deep tired. "What's weighing on you?" And I'd wait. Sometimes 5 minutes of silence, 10 minutes. I didn't fill the silence. I sat in it with him. And eventually, slowly, words would come. Small ones at first. Work was rough. Then bigger ones. "I don't think I can do this job much longer." Then the real ones. "I'm scared we won't have enough to retire." I never fixed his problems. That's important. I never said, "Here's what you should do," because he didn't need solutions. He had solutions. He was drowning in solutions. What he needed was a witness. someone to see him struggling and not judge him for it. Someone to say, I see you, and you're not weak, and you don't have to carry this alone. The first time Thomas cried in front of me, he was 61 years old. 34 years of marriage before I saw my husband cry. Not because he hadn't needed to cry, because he didn't think he was allowed to. He cried and then he apologized for crying. Let that sink in. He apologized. Like tears were something he'd done wrong. I said, don't you ever apologize for being human in front of me. This is the safest place on earth, right here with me. You can put everything down right here. He needed to hear that. He'd been waiting 34 years to hear that. If your husband is distant tonight, if he's quiet, if he's on his phone, if he hasn't shared a feeling in months, don't yell at him. Don't accuse him. Don't say you never talk to me. He already knows he doesn't talk to you. He feels guilty about it every day. Adding guilt to a drowning man doesn't save him. It sinks him faster. Instead, try this. Sit next to him, not across from him. Next to him, shoulder to shoulder. Don't look at his face. Men talk easier when you're not looking at them. Side by side, like sitting in a car, and say, you don't have to talk, but if you want to, I'm not going anywhere, and nothing you say will make me think less of you. Then wait. He might not talk tonight. He might not talk this week. But you just did something nobody has ever done for him. You gave him permission to be human. And one night, when the weight gets heavy enough and the silence gets loud enough, he'll turn to you and he'll finally say the thing he's been carrying. Be there when he does. Thomas finally talked. It took 34 years. But he talked, and it saved his life, and it saved our marriage. Same thing, really.